there have been a certain number of clues over the last few days pointing towards David Moyes getting a new deal. Now, I just want to say at this point that these are rumours, and a lot of this is putting 2 and 2 together and sort of possibly coming up with 5, but you know what, it might just be 4. But there's been rumour gone round in the last couple of days that David Moyes is set to sign a new 2-year contract at West Ham. The reason it has not been signed is because quite possibly the board know that there's going to be a backlash from the fans, which obviously begs the question, if you know there's going to be a backlash from the fans, why would you even think about doing it anyway? I guess the simple answer to that is that they don't really care what the fans think. But I don't want to get overly agitated at the moment about him signing a new deal, because it might be fake news, right? It might not be true at all. I think what is probably more important to me is I think I'm more depressed by the thought of this news being true than I have been at any single point in time. There was something about the Burnley game that just tipped me over the edge, really. I don't mean in terms of anger or frustration, but I think in terms of my tolerance for David Moyes has gone. And that's, do you know what? I'm not even going to say all the stuff that we should be grateful for, but I've said it all before. I've done so many videos on the subject that clearly David Moyes has been a really successful manager for West Ham. He really has. There's no doubt about it. But I've reached a point where do you know what? I don't want to see any more. I think it was Burnley, and I think the reason it was Burnley was because of how bad Burnley are. David Moyes feared Burnley. And I tried to make the point during last week that actually it doesn't matter whether we set up against Burnley, whether we set up against Bristol City, or whether we set up against Manchester City. We play the same way. That's going to be no news to anybody else. I remember exactly the same thing being said against Sheffield United. But I think the reason it's worse now is because everybody is fit. Almost everybody, you know what I'm talking about. And anybody that matters is fit and available, really. Kudus, Bowen, Paqueta, Antonio. All right, Emerson wasn't, but you get what I'm saying. The attacking players are all there. They're fit, they're ready, they're available. And I think there's always been a hope that maybe, just maybe, when he had everybody available and then we started to play weaker opposition, that Moyes would change his style. Not the full style. He tried that last season. But not just, he will play within his style, but he will select more attacking players. And there's a number of things. So firstly, his inability, it's not even ability. He has the ability to do it. He has no intention to do it. He has no desire to choose attacking players. And it's his tactic. It's a James Ward-Prowse tactic. As I mentioned on a couple of videos this week when I did the video about the midfielders, that James Ward-Prowse doesn't have the prerequisites to play and as an attacking midfielder. So why does he play there? David Moyes knows it. That's why he abandons the experiment really, really quickly in games. It's just another way that he can get another workhorse in there. Look, in terms of James Ward-Prowse, he has been completely and utterly Fornals. That is the graveyard shift. That left-hand side of the pitch for West Ham. That is where creative players go to die. I mean, just the irony on this. He's just skipped the middleman with James Ward-Prowse. He wasn't that creative anyway. How James Ward-Prowse played at West Ham, at Southampton, is not the way he plays at West Ham. Sure, I just don't understand is why get someone and bring them in and just try and get them to do something that's completely and utterly different. So I think that depressed me. We can all see it. It's obvious. What do you need? An attacking midfielder? Flair, vision, a threat on goal, dribbling, whatever. We all see he doesn't have it there, so he gets moved. And what does David Moyes do? He goes looking around the team for someone that can do that. Well, of course, that's Lucas Paquetá, and he just ends up playing him there, and eventually West Ham look a lot better, but not straight away, because it was still within the parameters and still the confines of that defensive team. Ward-Prowse goes on to the left, and he's also crap on the left. Why? Because he's no better at being a left winger. Well, he's actually even worse than Pablo Fornals, as I mentioned a couple of days ago. It's absolutely a terrible, terrible thing to witness. But I think I've got to the point now where I've just had enough of seeing it. And I'm pretty. I mean, I've not listened to any talk sport or anything like that in a little while now, for a few days. It gets switched on if I'm in the car or whatever, but I don't go out of my way to search for it. I've put it on. I've sort of muted the thing because it pops up on your YouTube feed as a suggested video. And you might be watching this now on YouTube, and there might be a talk sport video being suggested there. I've no doubt that it's baiting, and I don't mean clickbait. I mean baiting as in the actual word. I think they are baiting West Ham fans. And I think they're just looking for a reaction from us now, because the way that we set up against Burnley was an absolute disgrace. Vladimir Coufal, I touched on this. You'll watch the video later on, hopefully when you watch the preview. I touched on this in that Vladimir Coufal has just done an interview where he's turned around and said West Ham were brave. The reason we clawed it back, we were brave. I'm not here to dig out Vladimir Coufal. It wasn't necessarily that West Ham were brave. West Ham did not turn it round because of that. It was in the end that David Moyes got the correct quota of attacking players on the pitch. He had Danny Ings on there. He had Antonio. Kudus was on there. Bowen was on there. And Paqueta was started to play a lot better from a position which is suited to him. Don't get me wrong. There are times when Paqueta plays well by linking up with Emerson down the left-hand side. He does do that well. They have a good partnership. They really do. But you'd rather have a left winger there. And you'd rather have this creative playmaker in the middle. So Coufal had a point about the bravery, but it was actually... It wasn't even bravery from David Moyes. If David Moyes played those players from the start, it would be brave. What that was a reaction. He keeps on trying to claw back and rescue things late, be it against Everton, be it against Freiburg, be it against Burnley. And I've just absolutely had enough, which brings us back to what I was saying at the start of the video. There's a rumour of this new deal. I've got no desire to see it. But there's two things that have got me worried. There's three things, actually. So the first one was that David Moyes might have employed his son as a scout. We discussed it a couple of days ago, and somebody mentioned on, I think it might have been a build-up show. Might have been a build-up show to the Burnley game. Somebody in the live chat suggested it was a non-story because he'd actually been appointed in October. So I'm hearing two different things. I hope that person that told me that in the comments is right, because it would then be a non-story. And of course you can just go and sack a scout at any point. But as a sign, if he has just been appointed now, that's not a good sign. We then heard last week that Ben Johnson is not going to be offered a new contract at West Ham. I've already given my opinion on that. I'm not here to give my opinion on the Ben Johnson situation. What I would say is that that's not good, because that indicates that someone is making decisions. I don't think it necessarily be David Sullivan who's making the decision. I just wonder if he's been told by David Moyes he has no future under me, which would sort of fit in with the fact that Johnson is not playing. He's not playing under David Moyes at all. Something's happened there, and I think it certainly isn't performances, because the last few times Ben Johnson's played, should we say, 4 or 5 games, he's played well. With that, I think it'd be fair to say that. It's clearly not about that. I think it's because he's not signing a new deal. Well, why would David Moyes be bothered about that if David Moyes isn't staying? So that's a little indicator. And then the final one of the three, aside from the rumour that says he's going to sign for another 2 years, the final one of the three is that West Ham have apparently, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently have let Flynn Downs be known that he will not be back next season. That we're willing to accept offers for him. So obviously he's playing well at Southampton, by all reports. Why would we make that decision? If we didn't know who our manager was next season, we were going to go and go and approach a new manager and bring a new guy in, surely we would give him every opportunity. We want to give him a squad. It would be more advantageous for us to say to the manager, oh, look, we've got this player here, Flynn Downs. He's played 1 season with us. He's been on loan at Southampton. Is he of interest to you? Would he fit into your style of midfield? We know he doesn't fit into Moyes', but the new manager, well, who's to say? And it's just those things. As I say, maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5 here, but those things all together have got me very, very worried, it has to be said. Really worried about it, actually, that he's getting a new deal. And the part that actually are keeping it from us, because they know I'm unpopular, it would be unpopular. And it's unpopular with me. It has to be said. And the reason I didn't do the caveat at the start of the season and a disclaimer, at the start of this video, I'm basically going to say I'm pleased with that he won us a trophy. I was absolutely delighted. I've loved European football. I'm pleased for what he's done. There's no doubt about it. Look, he's given us European football for 3 seasons. That is unprecedented, but what I must say is to compare him to managers of the past isn't fair, because there were times when West Ham would have qualified for European football. We were on a European ban and had European football always gone down to sort of 7th position, West Ham would have been in European football a lot more historically. There's more competitions. It's easy. Basically, it could be a case if English teams, if Liverpool win the Europa League and say Man City or something win the Champions League this season, it's highly likely that eighth place, the top 8 get European football. That's almost half the league. So I don't want to belittle his achievements. I'm just saying, to say he's that much better than any manager that West Ham have had in the past, it's not an accurate comparison, because there have been a lot of managers who had 7th and 8th place yielded European football. We would have had consecutive seasons. We would have had, we would have had more of a chance to play in European competition. But I am grateful for it. But I've just reached a point of us of being sick of us not showing any ambition, even against crap teams. We still sit back, we still defend, and it doesn't seem to matter how many centre backs he signs. They all turn out to be crap in the end. I'm sorry to say, and I no longer need any more evidence. He doesn't sign strikers. He can't sign strikers. He takes over 18 months to replace Sebastian Haller, and it's going to be at least a year to replace Scamacca. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the wait. I'm sick of seeing players get ruined and be destroyed, be they Cornet, be they Benrahma, be it Fornals or now Ward-Prowse, being stuck on that left-hand side and basically disintegrating as footballers. I'm sick of seeing it. I'm sick. I'm just sick of seeing us line up against teams we should be beating with all the money, with £450 million spent. And we, honestly, and I'm sorry, I will swear now, we placed Bristol City, and like we shit ourselves like they're going to be absolutely brilliant. They're not. They're crap. I'm sick of seeing it. I don't know why I've reached a tipping point. I think it was Burnley and then reading that he might be getting a new deal. I don't want to see it. I really, really don't want to see it at all. So there you go. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. If you've enjoyed this video, you can stick a thumbs up on it. You probably haven't. It's just me being old ranty pants. But hey, oh, by the way, whilst you're here, and if anybody is still listening, well done, congratulations. Please point you in the direction of our Patreon. Patreon's our third Hammers Chat channel. It's a great way of supporting Hammers Chat. It allows us to upload videos on both channels twice a day, and obviously you get all the additional content over on Patreon as well. If you're any tier, if you are basically a standard tier, if you're a mild addict or you're an addict, if you're a supporter, any of the things at Hammers Chat, get yourself over there now and go and look on the match predictor that we've obviously got for the Freiburg game. We've got lots of shirts up for grabs, signed West Ham shirts. You basically have to predict the score and predict one of the goal scorers, and you win. We give away a lot of prizes on Patreon, and that's aside from all the other stuff, the store discount, the Anton Ferdinand podcast, the breakfast show, the player interviews, the referee interviews, the Hammerlytics, the Naked podcast. We got so much extra stuff on there. Go and check it out. We've got a 7-day trial. I think we've permanently got a 7-day trial, truth be known. Go and check it out. The link's in the description below. That's patreon.com/Hammers Chat. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.